It's said that signing to Jay-Z and Beyoncé's label is the ultimate cosign. The dream, and the turning point in your life. This female also had that thinking. An up-and-coming artist with a lot of potential and ambition. Till the ink was dry. The nightmare started then. No paparazzi were present. It was not included in any headlines. Behind the scenes, however, she was involved in something far more significant than a record deal. A darker one. Everything seemed unreal at first. The phone call was unexpected. Beyoncé praised her sound, according to management. Jay-Z desired a face-to-face meeting with her. They set up a meeting. A private jet, an opulent room with champagne smiles. And no cameras at the table. They addressed her as if they were mentors. Beyoncé remarked, "You have something special." "See you," Jay-Z continued. The contract was then slid over the table. She claimed that as she picked up the pen, her hands were trembling. The following week, the label made the signing public. The fans went crazy. She was dubbed the next big thing by blogs. In just 48 hours, she amassed 200,000 followers. Nobody noticed the expression in her eyes when she shared those joyous selfies because, by that point, something was already strange. She was not permitted to talk openly. Her creative team was removed, and her phone conversations were tracked. Every thought she had had to go through the circle. She was suddenly unable to post without authorization. Couldn't even tweet her own lyrics without a label representative Askingwo granted authorization. Then came the voice that made her famous, the pressure. They advised her to change it up. They said it was too harsh. Polish is necessary for you. Her lyrics are too intimate. They suggested sticking to what sells. After turning down a song that was proposed about champagne and high-end shoes one evening, she got a call from a stranger. The voice warned her, "We'll shove you if you don't. Do what we say." She cried for the first time that night. She made an effort to get in touch with those who had shown her such affection. Their teams, Jay and Bay, were now inaccessible ghosts. Everything was handled by assistants or attorneys. Her stomach began to growl. There was a problem. Then, using anonymous accounts, the DMs began. Take caution. They aren't who they claim to be. Don't rely on your attorney. Bloodline was the only word in one message. At first, she disregarded it. Believed the messages were from online trolls, but they persisted. Subsequently, she received a list of names from private detectives, attorneys, and CEOs who were purportedly connected to a deeper network, lineage, or generational influence. She became frightened at that point. She made an attempt to leave, requested a meeting, and stated that she wished to renegotiate. She just wanted to get her voice back without creating any controversy. The label canceled her planned release the very following day and stated that they were reassessing the course. Her access to the studio was terminated a week later. She then had her social media accounts locked by Thelabel for protection's sake. That night, she just wanted to express her ideas, so she recorded a voice note. "Please don't do this to me like this," she pleaded. "I came here with excellent intentions." Her voice broke. The growing terror was audible. She described being followed, receiving phone calls from phony investigators, and being cautioned not to trust a lawyer. She claimed not to be insane or resentful. She simply wanted to regain her life because she was afraid. At that point, she made the decision to go public. She uploaded the uncut video. Just her and her honesty without any editing or glamour. No makeup, hoodie on, sitting in her car. She didn't mention names in the video, but she wasn't required to. Anyone observing could make the connection. She said, "I signed, thinking it was a dream. However, my life turned out to be a nightmare." The most absurd thing is that she wasn't the first. Like wildfire, the video went viral. It received hundreds of thousands of comments and millions of views in a matter of hours. While some praised her for her bravery, others accused her of pursuing influence. However, messages from other artists were hidden within the confusion. Some choose to remain anonymous, while others are brave enough to reveal their identities and declare, "I know exactly what she's talking about." It dawned on her. Then, she wasn't alone in this battle. Silently and cautiously, she began to look for former artists who had vanished from view. Musicians that were once quite popular but disappeared without a trace. What she discovered was chilling. Nearly all of them told stories that were identical. Restricted inventiveness, abrupt cancellations, and vague legal threats. After refusing to rework a song that the label requested, one even informed her that their best friend had been blackballed from the entire industry. A few of them cautioned her against continuing to push. "They will pursue you." Someone said, "You're not fighting a person, you're fighting a system." There were layers in that system. She discovered that the same 3 multinational businesses owned the majority of big labels. Beyond that, however, she discovered names and families involved in politics, fashion, journalism, and music. These weren't only businesses. They were generations of silent rule, dynasties. The type that makes choices behind the scenes yet doesn't appear on a Forbes list. They provide the funding and approval for the festivals, the partnerships, and determine who receives airplay. The fame pipelines are under their control. Additionally, they turn off the faucet if you cross the line. She suddenly got in touch with a former A&R representative who had left the business years prior. According to him, new artists were once referred to as goods rather than individuals. Talent was not what we were searching for. We were looking for loyalty, he said to her. We had no desire for stars. We desired a soldier. The word soldiers stayed with her. Because being drafted into something where your voice wasn't your own was exactly how it felt. Where your music served as background noise for larger agendas, while your image was shaped in a boardroom. She reflected on how they forced her to alter in the pressure to fit in, hair, tone down her accent, and reduce weight in a way that didn't feel natural. Every choice was made with marketability in mind. All of her movements were intended to keep her in line. Her relationships were also closely examined. She was instructed on how to smile in public, who to avoid seeing, and whom to date. It was theater, not celebrity. The most unsettling aspect, however, was when she began to inquire about legal matters. Her original contract had wording that was so ambiguous and convoluted that it granted the label almost unrestricted rights to her voice, likeness, and even future work. She was set up from day one, and it turns out that her lawyer who assisted her in signing it had previously represented the label in prior cases. For a week, she stayed silent, not because she was afraid, but rather because she was planning. Upon her return, she started a live broadcast, for clarity, not for drama or influence. Du walked over her contract page by page, explaining the pitfalls, the gaps, and the warning signs that aren't discussed until it's too late for any aspiring artists who might be interested. Artists, producers, and even fans tuned in their thousands. And she wasn't merely a warning for the first time. She represented the voiceless. And she was very clear about one thing. This is about more than one terrible trade. Power is at issue here. How it is constructed, how it is utilized, and how it blends in with the background. They attempted to undermine her. Half-baked stories about her instability were shared on blogs. According to industry sources, she was challenging to collaborate with. An unidentified producer went viral, asserting that she was embellishing her experiences to gain attention. That didn't stop her, though. It made her work harder, if anything. Because she wasn't going to allow anyone to conceal the truth now that it was public knowledge. She began receiving invitations to panels, interviews, and podcasts, but she declined the majority of them. She wasn't trying to get attention. A movement was being built by her. She established a private network in silence. Producers, artists, attorneys, and some former insiders with nothing to lose. They spoke via encrypted calls, exchanged contracts, discussed tactics, and revealed vulnerabilities. She received a screenshot of a non-disclosure clause included in an artist contract from a major label. It permitted the business to bring legal action against the artist. Even for personal grievances. Another submitted an old memo from a label executive encouraging employees to use public relations to quell dissent. This was no longer a theory. It was larger than she had anticipated, and it was documented. She received a message one evening from an artist she had admired as a child. It was a brief message. Continue. I didn't. I ought to have. That was a powerful blow. Because every artist had a backstory that no one ever shared. She began to consider the greatest needs of artists. Not pity, not a viral moment, but protection and structure. In order to create something new, she started collaborating with an entertainment lawyer, an independent initiative for the rights of artists. It wasn't dazzling. It was genuine even if it wasn't sponsored. They developed contract templates, an anonymous Dropbox for artists to submit dubious label activities, and a hotline for legal assistance. Conversations quickly emerged from murmurs. Artists began to ask more questions in public. Some started avoiding important situations. Others opted to remain self-sufficient. The labels took note. All of a sudden, she began receiving calls once more. This one's friendly with offers to mend fences. She was even presented with a new offer by one executive. Complete creative control and double the budget. She hung up after laughing. The chapter was closed. Instead, she uploaded a video.com and concentrated. They could have given you better from the beginning if they offer you more after you speak up, she stated. Keep it in mind. Just that video received millions of shares. She had no desire for vengeance. People were listening and she wasn't revolutionizing anything. Smaller independent labels inquired about equitable deal structuring. Every day, young artists DM'd her to ask what to look out for. One even sent her a note and a photo of a contract. I was just going to sign it. I was saved by you. However, things weren't always easy. She lost friends, radio backing, and endorsements. She occasionally questioned if any of it was worthwhile. However, she would later witness a fan sharing her live broadcast, a producer demanding fairer shares, or an artist reclaiming their name, along with the headline. The truth always finds light, and she knew this was bigger than music now. On her own terms, she went back to the studio. She and a microphone, no handlers, no label. She didn't discuss stardom, charts, or shade in her debut song. It has to do with freedom. And it was more powerful than anything she had ever released. The figures were irrelevant. This was what counted. She had complete freedom. And every note, bar, and beat reverberated with that freedom. Because she did more than simply make it through the system. She opened it. By doing this, she illuminated the way so that others could pass through it fearlessly.
Legacy is that. Power is that.
And that's how she actually came upon her.